Looks like we are live and on the air on both YouTube and Twitch, so welcome everyone to the Foolish Tech Show. It is Tuesday morning, and we're mainly here to provide you with support and answer any questions about our products and services. If you do have any of those, feel free to jump over to foolishtechshow.com. We have a couple ways you can join our IRC chat and talk directly to us, and we'll be more than happy to interrupt whatever we may be talking about to focus on that instead. Because otherwise we will fill the air with random shop talk. And just keep in mind that any opinions expressed here are the opinions of that individual that expressed them and not of everyone. So with that, good Tuesday morning, everyone.
Happy Tuesdays.
Happy Tuesday.
It's Tuesday.
Indeed. So we do have an announcement for Foolish IT. Start off here. We got a ultimate pack that is extremely good deal. It's 5,000 licenses for a 3-year term for just under $1 a license on the bulk edition and a little bit over $1 a license for the white label edition. But pulling up the deets on those here now. So if you want a license pack that's going to last a good long while, these are the ones to go for. And you can see those on our site for purchase option. And yeah, they're extremely good deal if you're looking for around $1.25 for a single license of CryptoPrevent for 3 years. That's pretty awesome.
It's also a good way to make sure you don't run out during your deployment.
Indeed.
Plenty of licenses.
Perfect for golden images, even. Other than that, thought this was pretty interesting. Someone is touting a USB firewall. Essentially, USB plug for your USB plug, and it is supposed to be able to detect things like bad USB and malicious USB commands.
Yeah, how about you
That's
just
crazy.
lock the door? Don't let somebody access your computer. You know, am I getting something wrong? This is a hardware protection for something that might be plugged into the computer.
Yeah, and it's supposed to scan things and block malicious commands specifically.
I could see that, but
Project is
for educational purposes. Can it be used for educational purposes? Can you like see the debug stream from the USB communication? That would be neat.
Well, the project is open source, so you can actually build your own.
Yay!
Or you can get one for $60 from the person that started the project, I assume.
Sounds a little expensive, but it's a nice piece of hardware.
But I guess I was more interested in where is this? Like you said, I mean, it's pretty much if you.
I would rather lock my door rather than buy this device to protect, right? I mean, wouldn't you?
But I mean, essentially too, it's for like the parking lot USB drops and things where you might not.
Yeah, if you think something's
confident about it.
Yeah, not safe, but yeah, I don't know. You know, and what to extent does it actually protect against those that they've come out with more advanced?
I would hope that it protects you against the USB killer.
Yeah, well, they came out with a new version of that killed a whole lot more things, and I'm wondering if it's
I thought it
beefy
was
enough
just a
to stuff.
USB-C. That the number.
I had heard that they had, you know, this is the one that does the capacitors to offload a lot of current to the
Yeah.
USB. Yeah, I thought that they come out with a newer version of that, and that it was, you know, it damaged a lot more devices than the previous one had. So, but
They do have a version 3.
yeah, that's what you know. Is this a race, a arms race, you know, so to speak, between these two things? But you know, maybe just don't plug in unknown devices.
I mean, this might be a good
1X.
product for techs who have to sometimes plug in customers, you know, flash drives into their
your
tech bench
USB
computers. Yeah,
That is a good point.
that's something that's always made me nervous when I have to do that.
Oh, so the USB 3 looks like a USB Killer 3 is 1.5 times more powerful, 3x faster cycle time, 2x more resistant, active protection against devices attempting to destroy your USB Killer. So there are, like you said, the cat and mouse game of you plug your USB Killer in and it gets killed. Plus, they have an anonymous edition that's a blank and discreet, and, nothing on it. And it's like $5 more for the anonymous version. The anonymous version does look good, though. Looks dang good.
And what is the anonymous version?
It's just a blank one.
Oh, okay.
So like it looks just like a black flash drive essentially. And they just came out with adapters that you plug in for the USB-C and micro USB.
And the iPhone.
Oh yeah, and Lightning.
A Lightning connector, yeah.
Nice. That's actually a pretty nice adapter kit for $15.
Yeah.
Go to USB to any of those three, and it's not bad. And they got the nice little USB thing on there. That's pretty cool. Interesting.
So just wanted to throw out my update. I've been following, you know, AMD's processor launch with the Zen architecture, the Ryzen desktop processors. It looks like they're going to have the server version, and it's pretty substantial. I think I think the processor is actually a little bit more well equipped for server type loads than it is for desktop loads, and certain choices that AMD made may prove to be extremely good for data centers. So take a look. I haven't read through it all yet, but the initial specs and comparisons to Intel's server platforms is pretty positive. So take a look.
Mike Tech Show wants to use our chat. Sure, I guess. I actually am pretty good friends with the moderator there. Al.
Huh? What you mean?
USS Rover says an off-topic question. On Thursday evenings from 6:30 to around 8:30, can a different show use chat?
Our
And
IRC?
but it was Mike Tech Show. Yeah.
I don't understand actually, but okay, I guess. What? Mike Tech Show don't have their own chat? Come on.
But, I mean, they could use our IRC server.
Well, yeah, of course they can. I guess Mike Tech Show is good guy, Mike.
Yeah. And Al's the chat moderator there. So
Al?
Al, yeah.
Al K? Or wait, which Al?
Old Al.
Okay, yeah. Okay. All right. I did not know that.
Cool, not a problem, whatever. I mean, he could just create his own channel and just use that too. I wouldn't mind. Yeah, Al's been
Saturday Night Al.
yeah, Saturday Night Al's been the moderator for Mike Tech Show chat for quite some time, and he's brought us up on the show too. So yeah. On Thursdays, you say? Thursdays. Cool. Well, we will definitely be fine with that, I think. So, more than welcome to use it, Mike Tech Show.
Not be fine with, but welcome. Like you just, yeah. Second.
Yeah.
We welcome it, actually. You know, throw all the tech shows on there. As you give them their own channel, then, you know, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, they can just do whatever they want.
So it shouldn't matter even what time or any of that mess, right? I
yeah,
mean,
no, they can just be their own channel and hang out in there. So I thought this was pretty interesting as well. Before I do that, Michael, are you going to go AMD this time?
Yeah, for the next my next PC build, I think I'm going to strongly consider it. I'm not absolutely certain. I may actually wait for their second revision. Some of those shortcomings that still exist, everyone believes that they'll very quickly be able to resolve, and so that may be the sweet spot for it. Especially since I very recently did current build, so I consider it to be very early in its lifespan. So, but
so you're saying I can go AMD again and save some cash, or is it still cheaper to go AMD? It's been that while since I bought a computer.
Well, I mean, the thing is now it's the same. It's cheaper. Not only is it cheaper, it's always been cheaper, but the performance was just not there. So, you know, even if you tried to shovel in more money, you couldn't actually achieve what you wanted to.
Really?
So that, yeah, like they had no competitors in the top end of the market. The best competition that AMD had prior to this was at the basically low entry level, basically i3 or even sub i3 level performance. So this is a huge step for them. And they had some server chips and things, but those were grossly outperformed as well. So they have been losing in that market too. So at any rate, I believe now that they're competitive, at least, not, benchmarks will go one way or the other, but they're right up there with them, with Intel and the vast majority of the ones that are important to most consumers out there. So that being the case, I think that if someone were approaching me asking to build a new computer, I'd probably recommend they save some money on the architecture, move to AMD, and reinvest that into peripherals, into a faster storage or better graphics card or something of that nature. That money can be reinvested. Savings is huge. I mean, you're talking about saving like $200 or more on your processor. And in some cases, half the cost.
How does the integrated graphics on the AMD chips compare with the Intel chips?
Okay, so these new ones don't have integrated graphics.
Okay.
So, and for most of our prosumer market, it's definitely a better choice. But if you did need integrated graphics, they'll have you covered. They intend to roll out an integrated solution in conjunction with the Zen cores, a little bit later. This first launch was for the upper tier of the market. They're going to do the mainstream and the lower end of the market later, and those are supposed to at least include integrated graphics solutions. But the thing is, Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA are still ahead of Intel now. Intel's integrated graphics have gotten a lot better, certainly, but I still don't think that they can compete. So I would expect an integrated AMD solution to be at least as good, if not better, than the integrated Intel solution. It took them a long time to get to where they are, and they're still a good little bit away from those two leaders, particularly NVIDIA so far. But we'll see with AMD's Vega architecture if they can continue to be competitive. So I think they might be good on that front as well. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Well, at least the lower price will leave some room in your budget to get a discrete graphics card.
Well, now one point to note that this is how soon the integrated graphics will come to that platform for AMD. All the motherboards that are currently being made for the platform, which is the AM4 platform, they will have display ports integrated onto them. So that's going to be really interesting. That should be coming very soon. If they, if the motherboard manufacturers are sticking it on there, clearly it's in the works.
Michael, I just wanted to say, did that answer your question? Was probably one of the funnier things I've heard in the last week or two. You have always, at the very least, answered at least one question, whether we've had it or not.
Sometimes I get lost though, and I never actually address the issue. I think so. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah. Well, that answers my. That makes me happy. My last, or my system now is that i7 something 7 K. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's the 4000 series, but yeah,
4770 K is what I got a while back, and before that, I think my last Intel was the Celeron 300A. If that tells you anything.
Yeah, that was a great overclocker, certainly.
But running, doing as many years in the tech on the tech bench as I had, I mean, I've always said, recommended AMD for the longest time, but it was really, really difficult, to like when price wasn't a factor, it was always an Intel recommendation because you always noticed the difference, benchmark or not, you always would notice the difference in my opinion. So as long as it wasn't their, budget Celeron or something, but
yeah. The interesting thing though about AMD's this Zen architecture is that it for the first time for AMD scales across the board. Like they had a completely different, like their server chips that AMD were still producing, their higher end chips, they were still like very dated, from like 2014, 2012, something like that, and they hadn't been updated effectively since. That processor architecture was substantially different than their mainstream processor architecture, and they really didn't have a high-end desktop processor at all. And then they had some lower end chips, but they were all basically using different architectures. And so it was very hard probably for them with their resource allotments to get that balance just right between all that. Now, Zen changes all that. That same architecture that Zen has can be scaled both up and down. And that's very advantageous for them for their, if they, they do have limited resources compared to Intel. The good news is that because it was so competitive at the one area, scaling it up and scaling it down should mean that it's just as competitive in those other areas as well. So this is a across the board success for AMD, and again, it's a win-win for the consumers. They're getting more bang for their buck, and it's causing Intel to lower their prices. So even if you choose to stay with Intel, you're going to basically be able to afford a much better processor than you would have otherwise. And it's gonna, I would say, basically put hundreds of additional dollars in consumers' pockets for other things, whether they just want to save the money up front or whether they want to invest it in something else for their technology needs. So anyway, I'll stop. I'll get off the AMD bandwagon.
Well, what about
I'll
this?
tell you why. That's good news, but to me anyway. Sorry, just the underdog. You know, like if, for example, someone would rise up against Amazon Corporation. That'd be awesome. I'm sorry, Brent. Go ahead.
Why would you rise up against Amazon? They're going to help you with everything.
Because of Resident Evil.
Appreciate.
That's why. Because of the Resident Evil movies. That's why.
That was just them trying to help with defense against corporate espionage.
Just wait for Amazon to dip into Lockheed Martin's, you know, and then go from there.
Yeah.
Just wait.
They're gonna end up buying out Lockheed Martin. Well, fun news from the other side. Apparently, they've set up malware to retrieve PowerShell scripts from just DNS records. So all it needs is an internet connection, and it pulls the payload from
May I say what?
the DNS text record.
Oh.
That's pretty devious.
Well, wait. So it pulls what is it doing with PowerShell scripts?
Whatever it wants to do.
It's going to copy them and utilize them for its own work benefit.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what it's doing. Essentially, this is just a new attack form, and if you've ever had to like verify you own an email server or something like that, you've probably had to deal with those DNS text records, and they can be queried, and you can put whatever you want in them. So, interesting method of attack.
Did you see the one about the Snowden 2.0 release? All the government's hacking tools and stuff.
Oh, from WikiLeaks? I don't believe anything WikiLeaks does anymore, so I don't advertise.
Okay.
You can mention it if you feel confident in their validity.
There's been other stuff that supports what they have in here, but yeah, I don't know. I question whether I should post it.
I mean, if it's ended up on WikiLeaks, so there's a reason why it ended up there. That's kind of how I feel about it. And I'm more concerned about why it's there than really what the contents of it end up being.
Okay, fair enough.
I thought this was interesting. A search engine for coding courses and tutorials called hackr.io. Looks pretty interesting. It tells you if they're free or have videos, or kind of nice for all you coders out there. And if you have children, definitely sit them down in front of this and make them learn that stuff.
Yeah.
What was y'all's? Did y'all find that search engine? Did you want to talk about that more?
Yeah, I found it. I don't have a whole lot of info on it, but it's
What is it? Was it Kiddle? Okay, yeah, Kiddle.co.
It's a search engine designed for children to filter out content that would be inappropriate for kids. I tested a little bit. It seemed to work well.
My worry about is that name is, and maybe it's just because I'm such a big fan of Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but like there was a entire episode where Frank was making sure that he did not diddle the kids.
All right. Where is
Make it Kiddle? It's kind of a weird choice.
I'm not sure where you're going with diddle, but is that safe for work?
I mean, it's not after you convert it to what it means.
Okay. All right. Well, it's not that. Yeah.
Anyway,
Then
listen.
it's not safe for me at all anymore. So just.
What about? Did you hear? This is a follow-up to the story that we had talked about with the Amazon Echo and the murder case.
So they did end up sharing the data?
They have agreed to share the data, mainly because it looks like the strong part of it was because the actual guy said, yeah, he said it was okay. So now remember, previously Amazon did not want to share the data. So this kind of is, I don't know, kind of leads a little bit to support the alternate theory that we offered, that potentially this would reveal something that Amazon is in fact possibly collecting too much data. But the fact that they were also able to, the fact that they agreed to do it also could be considered the opposite. Could be like they have nothing to hide as well. I just question why they initially.
Well, you said they agreed to do it, or I thought they agreed to do it after the guy said he didn't care, right? After the consumer.
Yeah, that was my interpretation. But that was, yeah. So agreed after that is sort of, yeah, kind of like just going along with what the guy.
But they might be fine with it as if they're not like forced to have it done by court order. Like if they're voluntarily giving up information, is different than being court ordered to give up all the information.
Sure.
So you're just like, yeah, here's the information we have.
No guarantee that's all the information they have.
Court order is like, no, this is all the information we have. So they could be taking it with that route and saying, well, we'll just give you what we're supposed to have. So that kind of worries me. But thanks, I'll have to read up more on that. It is an interesting case. And it is interesting that they're fighting it off. I mean, I can see it from purely the consumer protection side and wanting to make more sales and company reputation and stuff, but at the same time, it smells a whole lot like we got more than what we should have. And
yeah, well, we'll see though. I mean, right? This
more towards the umbrella corporation that Nick fears they may be.
Well, but this will tell us to some extent, at least in that product line, what the situation.
But that's what I'm saying. If it doesn't end up being a court order to hand over everything they have, and it just ends up being voluntary, I could see that not being a big issue, or them not handing over everything and that being an issue.
I want to point out that Android has these do not disturb hour things that you can set, where you don't have to worry about that.
It looks like it was an important call.
I will just, oh gosh, it does.
Wow.
Oh, go ahead.
I just figured I'd stop his video. I don't.
You did that?
I did. I did look important.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are at our 30-minute time slot, so let's go ahead and wrap it up. I got one last interesting thing. You can now send 50 meg attachments with Gmail. So there's that.
Sweet. No more cramming stuff into the 25 meg limit.
Yeah. So
of course, then no one can receive it anyway. But
used to be limited at 25. Now they're up, and that was on the 2nd of March that they did that. So pretty nice. It's kind of scary too that I'm glad that all the cell phone plans moved back to unlimited, because data is getting more intensive. It doesn't seem like it's going to be slowing down. So I would not have wanted to receive a 50 megabyte attachment over a data connection.
On the other hand, my charter over here, I noticed online the other day that it wasn't charter. No, it was on my mom's Time Warner account I was managing. And it was all about, which I guess charter now, but it was all about, like they had all this bandwidth usage and stuff measured out, like they were prepping us for, the inevitable caps.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to. Charter shouldn't be allowed to do caps if you have Charter. That was part of their agreement with buying Time Warner.
With buying Time Warner. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking of the Charter.
But that would require the
Warner.
FCC to enforce that, and FCC has said they don't want to work anymore. So
They don't want to work anymore?
well, the head of the FCC has basically said everything about this organization, we're not going to do it anymore.
Oh.
That
like
part
the
of
main
Trump's deregulation?
No, like the guy that they appointed. This has happened in several of Trump's appointments, but the guy that he appointed to that, like, hates that entire federal branch arm and wants to completely do away with it. So he's now in charge of it.
Well, that's great. This guy hates this thing. Let's put him in charge of it.
It seems like
Well,
the best
I think
way
that was
to reform.
the intention.
Same thing happened with the EPA. Same thing happened with the Department of Education. Put someone that hates school and knowledge at the top of it. So.
That was around long before, man. That happened before I was born, anyway, or before I was really through school. So.
Well, this one was quite. It's like they took all of that and made it. Anyway, we don't want to get too much into politics.
I don't even know anything about politics.
I don't think you misspoke at all there.
Yeah.
There you go.
Apocalyptics. Apocalyptotics. We're all going to be running and dodging spears. Apocalypto. Anyway, let's go ahead and wrap it up before we.
Oh, just one last thing. A good television show, The Last Ship. I watched the first 2 episodes, or first 2 seasons of that. It is awesome.
The Last Ship?
The Last Ship.
Cool.
Thinking we're out.
Yep.
Got work to do. You know, I hate to pull a Cyrus, but we got work to do. I'm out of here.
All right.
So we'll be back Thursday. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
We're out of here. See y'all Thursday.